And let's begin with the biggest headline in all of sports right now, which is the Garrett Cole signing. $324 million as he comes to New York. And that's way higher than he was predicted. He was predicted for some reason to go to the Angels. To me, it was kind of clear that he was going to the Yankees. And as a Yankees fan, I'm just tremendously happy. And he well exceeded what everyone was predicting him to get with that $324 million. And I think that this really puts the Yankees over the hump. And not only does it strengthen the Yankees, as we said before, it weakens the Astros.
Yeah.
So their, almost rival is just completely out of the picture now. And they're now thinking of trading Correa because they don't seem to be a big powerhouse anymore.
Yeah, and also now the way things have worked out, we still don't know what their punishment is going to be for the cheating thing. So they have Garrett
and no
Cole.
one really wants to sign with them because of that. Like Wade Miley's leaving.
Exactly, and Garrett Cole's leaving, so they might this actually might be a good move on their part if they trade Correa, because the thing is they don't know how severely they're going to be punished. They might be so severely punished that they're not even a contender next year. So trading him might be a better move for the future of the team.
The predicted trade as of right now is him and Josh Reddick to the Reds in return for Castillo, that young, star quality pitcher who's tremendously good and talented, but he's not nearly as good as Garrett Cole. Actually, I do not disagree with that deal. Like, it's very, very fair. Like, the Reds are getting a solid offensive players, but also losing a pitcher, and the Astros are gaining another arm, which they very badly need at this point, but losing a star quality shortstop and a very good fielding right fielder. So I see it as a very fair deal. I wouldn't understand completely why the Reds would do it, but because they need pitching. But I do see it. I could see it happening. I don't know necessarily. If the Astros do it, it won't be that bad of a move. Correa, you never know when he's going to play injured every 5 seconds. So I can see them doing it, and it won't put them out of contention. Anytime soon.
Yeah, but also overall for off-season moves, especially this off-season, there's a lot of players that are getting paid a lot of money. Garrett Cole is getting, what is it, like mid-30s per year, and so is Strasburg.
36. He's getting more than Trout yearly.
Yeah, and you have Zach Greinke on the Astros. Obviously, he didn't sign this season this offseason or anything, but he's earning like 30-some million a year too. So
something close to that.
I just want to mention the fact that these players might be getting overpaid, and it's maybe not Cole and Strasburg right now, maybe a little bit, but you're thinking what happens many more years down the line, because baseball has the longest contracts of basically any sport, I think, right?
No, but also if you see what's going on, like a few years ago, like when the Royals won the World Series, they had an outstanding bullpen, and they won on bullpen, pitching. And then every single team went out and just got, relief pitching. And now that, they saw that the World Championship team had literally no bullpen and only tremendous starting pitching, now everyone's just going after starting pitchers because they believe that that's what's going to work now, which is why they're getting paid so much. And Strasburg is an example. Cole is definitely an example. Those are, by the way, the two biggest free agent signings of pitchers, period. Like, those are the biggest contracts ever signed by pitchers, period.
Yeah.
And
there's some of the biggest contracts signed in baseball.
I'm not sure why Strasburg got so much. He's heading into his age 31 season. Yes, he's still in his prime, but I don't believe that he should have gotten that much. Yes, the Nationals are pretty much desperate to repeat, which does not seem that likely anymore unless they get Donaldson, who's still on the market, and he is needed by a few teams. Personally, I believe that the Braves could really use him. By the way, the Braves have been very active this offseason, getting a very good bullpen arms and very underrated players. And Travis d'Arnaud, by the way, which they need a backup catcher. And they also But they need a third baseman, and the Nationals need a replacement for Rendon, who went to the Angels for a ridiculous contract. And if you compare it to Albert Pujols got $240 million for 10 years.
Yeah.
And he is exceeding that, amount of money in a shorter amount of time period. He's getting $240 for 7 or 8 years, $245 for 7 or 8 years. So not only is his yearly pay higher, but his total salary is $5 million higher.
Yeah, and I also want to talk about the fact that you brought it up earlier. The Angels were one of the favorites, along with the Dodgers and the Yankees, to sign Garrett Cole. Because I was watching a video on YouTube. I think it was Michael K, Peter Rosenberg, and one other guy. I forgot his name.
Mike Francesa.
Yeah, so they were talking about how, like you said, Pujols got paid a crap load of money. But they also brought up the fact...
he was already on his decline, too.
Yeah, and they brought up the fact that the Angels were willing to do that, so why wouldn't they do the same for Garrett Cole? Because it's been rumored that their offer was actually less than the Yankees.
Well, the Yankees, for 9 years, $324 million. That's absurd.
Yeah.
$36 million a year. That's ridiculous. I completely understand why the Angels were not paying that much. It's absurd how much he's getting paid. And, 5 years down the road, quality pitcher that he is right now, he might still be good. He might be able to figure it out. But, the Angels were not willing to take another chance like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, now that you bring up a good point, because now that's going to impact the Yankees' future in a few years, because they're going to they're going to have to try to get rid of his contract if he doesn't keep this up.
What the Yankee front office is thinking, it's going to be worth it for them and for all Yankee fans and for the Yankees if they win the championship. That's all. Like the Cubs, I'm gonna bring up the Cubs from 2016. They're not good anymore. They traded away Gleyber Torres to the Yankees and got Chapman, who helped them win the World Series, and then they lost Chapman and they could not win the World Series the following year.
Yeah, now Chapman's with the Yankees with Torres.
So it was worth it. They won the championship, so it was worth it.
Yeah, but the thing is also, I'm just talking about the future right now. Of course, it's better short term, but long term, if they don't get rid of him fast enough and he doesn't keep this up, they could they could miss out on somebody else big that they want to sign. So they could miss out on Aaron Judge or Gleyber Torres when their contracts come up.
You're 100% correct. You bring up a great point.
And the thing is, Judge is, he's in his later 20s, so they might be able to get away with, letting him go if he starts to decline a little earlier. But Gleyber Torres is super young, so they're going to want to keep him around for a long time.
Yeah, and LeMahieu, by the way,
yeah,
everyone's forgetting he's a free agent next year after this 2020 season.
Yeah, and I think he was the best player on the Yankees.
He's going to get paid. He is a tremendous player.
Yeah.
As now seen by everyone. He was getting a very small contract, which I believe he stupidly signed because he was, either in his age 29 or 30 season, and he signed a 2-year deal, which kind of, defeats the purpose of getting a long-term contract now because, now he's heading out of his prime, and teams are, going to be less inclined to pay him that much.
But also that means the upcoming few years after this, it's going to be scary for the Yankees, especially if they don't win.
Yes, you're correct. Yeah, if they don't win, then this is going to be a scary offseason.
And it's going to become a disaster, not just next offseason, but for years to come potentially. Because also you have to keep in mind, if they don't get rid of Happ, he's on their payroll, and he's earning like what, $17 million a year.
Only there for 2 more years.
Stanton's going to get like almost $30 a year. So that's already a huge, chunk of their payroll. Their payroll.
Their payroll's pretty high, but it's not. You have to remember that they're in New York. They're the Yankees.
Correct.
They're not exceeding the luxury tax yet. They don't really care if they exceed the luxury tax because they have so much revenue.
Yeah.
And income. The fans are going to be pouring into the ballpark this year. The tickets are going to skyrocket in price. So you have to take all that into account.
Yeah. And
so they're going to be making way more money than they did last year, which is saying a lot because they were great last year. And just also picture their starting rotation now.
Yeah.
They're coming with an unbelievably stacked bullpen.
Mm-hmm. It's rumored that they're trying to trade with the Brewers for another bullpen arm.
Who are they trying to trade for?
I think they're trying to trade for. Is it like Josh Hader or something?
I don't. No way. I know that the Brewers have been talking about trading Hader, but I don't understand.
Yeah, I just looked it up and I saw a notification earlier. Yankees. It says CBS Sports Yankees pursuing Brewers All-Star closer Josh Hader.
And actually, that makes sense to me.
There's multiple that say that.
He's a lefty. He's a lefty as well. So and in Yankee Stadium, you need lefty arms.
Yeah. And also
the Yankees starting. I just want to bring up the Yankees starting rotation really quick. Although they only have one left-handed starting pitcher, I'm not going to count Happ. But Paxton is their only left-handed starting pitcher. Who, by the way, in the second half of the season showed tremendous life. Won his last 10 starts of the regular season, and towards the end of the postseason, he showed great heart and was able to clutch up. And just let me put in perspective what their rotation is going to be. It's going to be Garrett Cole, Severino for a full season. Not recovering in the playoffs.
Yeah, barring an injury, of course.
Yeah, well, yeah. Paxton. Their number 4 starter is going to be Tanaka. And then you got Jordan Montgomery as your number 5 starter, who's actually, by the way, also a lefty, or Happ.
Yeah. So
you got options. And then you don't know what's going to happen with Domingo Germán because of, his domestic violence garbage.
Yeah. But the thing is, this could be like an all or nothing thing, or it could be something in the middle, to be honest, because
I see this because that starting rotation is locked up for a long time.
Yes, but in this postseason,
you have to remember though, like even if their offense shies away a little bit, like they lose LeMahieu, which I don't see happening, but or they lose Judge, which I also don't see because he's a true Yankee. But if they do lose, like a Torres or a big name player, they still have that starting rotation. They have a tremendous starting rotation now.
Yeah, but the only bad thing about what their rotation looks like is what we saw during this postseason against the Astros wasn't exactly impressive. So if that repeats itself next year in the postseason,
big powerhouse, and there's no really other AL team that's a big powerhouse right now. They just stand well above everyone.
Well, I mean, the Angels now, they're looking kind of scary.
Yeah, but they don't have any pitching yet. They're starting to look good, but not yet.
That's true. But what I'm saying is the whole rotation, if they all show up, this might be the most deadly rotation in baseball. But at the same time, if they don't show up, they could end up being a second-round exit again.
I don't see that happening. I can understand if you said, they lose in the World Series, but the AL is too weak. The Astros are going down. They're facing a bunch of penalties this year.
Yeah.
They lost, big names. The Rays, lost Tommy Pham, which I thought was a pretty dumb trade, with the Padres. And they, the Oakland is going to stay about the same.
Yeah.
And, there's just the Twins are the Twins. They're not signing any big name pitchers. They're just getting more offense.
Correct. But
I just see, the Yankees as being, the main powerhouse of the AL.
Again, though, if the Angels really, they can really...
If the Angels get the rest of the starting pitchers on the market, then we have a problem.
Yeah. And also, the thing, I just want to bring up a little kind of comparison between Strasburg and Rendon. Do you think that the fact that Strasburg won the World Series MVP, do you think that played any part in the way the offseason played out? And, the fact that he won and not Rendon?
because it would make him more inclined. Him meaning Strasburg. Strasburg more inclined to want to come back to the Nationals. They just won the championship. He won World Series MVP. He loves the team. He loves all the players. He's a great guy in the clubhouse now. He didn't used to be. Kendrick came back, and he won the World Series MVP, so he wants to, repeat that. He wants to go with the same club. And Rendon, maybe feels a little bit overshadowed almost. So he wants to hit the market, get a, big contract, which he would have gotten from the Nationals probably anyway.
Yeah.
But, maybe switch it up a little bit. Play alongside the best player in all of baseball. Help out that team. I honestly do not understand totally why he would go to the Angels. But I do see, maybe he just wants to, play alongside Mike Trout. I don't know.
Yeah, but
they're not going anywhere yet.
Do you think Rendon actually should have won World Series MVP?
I don't know, because Strasburg in Game 6 really kind of carried them. He put them on his back and pitched 8 2/3 innings in Game 6.
Yeah, but Rendon was insanely clutch throughout the whole thing. I know we're kind of backtracking a little bit.
And he was overshadowed by Hendrick, too. Howie Kendrick, I should say, too. In the CS, where Kendrick went, nuts. And in the division series, when Kendrick hit that grand slam, because Rendon actually played a big part in that game. He hit the first home run out for Kershaw.
Yeah.
To get everyone, spooked. And then Soto hit that home run. And then Kendrick hit the grand slam, to break it open.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I feel like Rendon was better than Strasburg, but also at the same time...
Oh, no question he's better than Strasburg.
Yeah, but also, and this is actually something I just realized, in both the Astros and the Nationals, both World Series teams, one player won an award, and it might have caused another player to leave. In the Astros case, it was Garrett Cole, because Justin Verlander won.
Well, yep.
We don't know if there's any jealousy there now. And then same thing with Strasburg and Rendon.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And also you have to remember, and yes, take that into account. And also you have to remember that, you might not want to, be involved with the Astros, scandal.
Yeah.
The trouble that they're going through of stealing signs and whatnot. So you might not want to be involved, so you might, just want to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And you did not make exactly a bad choice by signing with the Yankees for so much money.
Yeah, but another thing about Strasburg is that he's making $35 million per year, and considering his ERA, I don't know if he really deserves it. And it's not a knock on him; he's a good player.
I don't think he deserved it for 7 years, but yes, for 3 or 4, and it's because he was insane in the playoffs. You cannot put a price on playoff pitching. He's I understand that his ERA was somewhere around 3.3, 3.4, but he showed up and he was tremendous in the playoffs.
Yeah, so now with Garrett Cole and the Yankees, so does that mean Luke Voit plays first?
Yep, Luke Voigt's playing first. Mike Ford's going to be their backup. Torres going to play second. LeMahieu at short. Urshela and then Duhar are going to be battling it out for third base, or maybe even now Duhar goes to DH. And by the way, the Yankees just signed today Gardner back for $12.5 million 1 year. And I want to switch it up a little bit. I want to, give the Mets a little bit of love here. The Mets just signed, not this moment, but, recently signed Rick Porcello for $10 million 1 year. And that kind of, solidifies their starting rotation. They have DeGrom, Porcello, Syndergaard, and Marcus Stroman as their top 4.
Yeah, I remember.
And then Matt's as their 5th.
Yeah, and I also want to say, I remember, obviously, I think I mentioned this in the first podcast, but before this year, there were a few years where I didn't watch baseball. But I remember, I think maybe back in 2012 or something, was Rick Porcello with the Tigers?
Yes, he was.
I mean, so I listen, I'm probably not the most well-versed in this area, but I'm just saying, could it be that learning from Verlander and Scherzer so many years ago now plays a part in how good he is now?
It does, because also when Scherzer left and then he was traded off to the Red Sox, he immediately won the Cy Young there, and then he hasn't won a Cy Young since, which was in 2016. He won it.
Yeah.
But he's still a top line pitcher. I'd say he's number 2 or 3, and that's exactly what the Mets need. And they got him for really cheap, and that's like a very underrated deal. But what's sad for the Mets is that they're well overshadowed by the Phillies, making noise in this offseason, and the Braves.
Yeah, and the Phillies.
The Braves I see as staying on top of that division. Mets and Phillies could be battling it out through the year, and I don't know. One of them might make the playoffs. I'm not sure, but they're definitely contenders.
Yeah, and you also have to keep in mind that the Phillies just got Didi Gregorius, and kind of how
for 1 year, $14 million.
And it's kind of how the Yankees signed Garrett Cole away from the Astros. The Phillies are hurting a different contender, in this case being the Yankees, by signing away Didi Gregorius. So now the Yankees
here's the thing, though.
Have a little bit less depth.
The Yankees were not competing with the Phillies, and they also kind of made a conscious decision not to sign him back. I not that I agreed with it, but it's because they believe they have so much depth already that they don't need him. Which I can understand.
But also the thing is, if there's another injury-plagued season for the Yankees,
then they would need him, but they don't count on that, which I don't totally agree with, because they just had one.
Yeah, exactly. Which I mean, do you think they would have had enough money to sign Didi back if he was not signed?
Yeah. But also Didi went to Philadelphia, because he loved being coached by Joe Girardi. Yeah. If you look at his best seasons, or when he started becoming great, it was when Joe Girardi was coaching him. He loves being coached by Girardi, and Girardi is the manager of the Phillies. So that's another reason why he went there. I don't know why he signed for so cheap though. $14 million for 1 year. I would look for a year deal for him, especially since he's heading into his age 31 season, not going to get any more opportunities really.
Any shot the Yankees get him back next offseason, or do you think that's kind of?
I mean, if they don't, that's where they're going to have an option, because LeMahieu or Didi, I would rather have LeMahieu, but they're going to have options.
I mean, but DJ's obviously the better player.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. He's definitely the better player. And by the way, DJ LeMahieu just came off of a Gold Glove contending season. He was, I believe, finished in second or third place in that.
Yep.
But he only played like half of his games there, and he still almost won it, which shows you how great of a fielder he is.
Yeah. So, do you want to jump into a different sport now?
Yeah. Let's jump into basketball.
All right. So first, I just want to talk about Jimmy Butler being on a roll.
Oh yeah, carrying that, or not carrying, but really helping out that Heat team to top 3, top 4 spot in the East. A tremendous turnout for that team. Not expecting to be contending, expecting to be in the playoffs, maybe 6th or 5th or 4th seed, something. I'm going to say like 5th or 6th, and he ends up on top. That team ends up on top and, within the top 4 seeds, which is, absolutely tremendous, especially for a team that just did not make the playoffs and only had, one big free agent signing over the offseason.
Yeah, and Dragic is still injured right now, which means Jimmy is, taking on a huge load. He's got
and so are the rookies on that team.
Yeah, he's got a lot of young talent.
Have not, slowed down much at all.
Yeah, and he's working with a lot of young talent, as you said, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Bam Adebayo.
Tyler Hero, I see as becoming one of their big, building blocks, especially since he's able to hit those big shots. When he, although he was missing early in one of his last games, he knocked down those big threes and helped them win in overtime. I forget who that game was against.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But He's able to hit the big shots,
and he's a very underrated.
Which
he was a very underrated draft pick
from a rookie.
Yeah, and also jumping into the Western Conference real quick. Did you see the Rockets and Spurs game?
Yes, 22 points difference, and the Spurs came back and won.
Yeah, but also,
which kind of shows it's an example of what we said in our last podcast with the Rockets. They just, they either have it or they don't in games. They're either, you can't touch them, or you can't lose to them.
Yeah, and a lot of it's dependent on their threes.
For about half the game, or even a little bit more than that, it was like, oh, we can't touch them, and then they just lost it.
But also
they couldn't do anything after that James Harden call. When he
dunked the ball and
yeah.
But also that brings me to officiating blunders, which, I mean, we'll talk about this later. It happened to cost the Patriots on Monday, but it definitely could have cost the Rockets that game. They probably would have won without that blunder. So that
probably if you're losing, there's no excuse for losing a 22-point lead.
Oh yeah,
so
of
they
course
can't
not.
base it all.
I'm not making an excuse. I'm just saying that
one call. It's kind of choking, and that also, maybe they would have won by 2 points if that didn't happen. But still, it just looks very bad when you give up that many, give up a comeback like that.
Yeah, but so now, obviously, officiating has been a problem in the NBA for quite a while now. What do you think they're going to do about it?
I mean, officiating is usually a problem in every league. And there has been a lot of talk about electronic umpires, which they've started a little bit in the MLB. They haven't, put it into play yet, but they've tried it in the minor leagues and stuff. With the electronic strike zone. But I don't see them replacing the physical umpires or the refs in this case for the NBA. Maybe they should make a rule, I'd say, maybe this upcoming offseason, saying if there's no call, then, you're allowed to challenge, because
there is a coach's challenge now.
There is a play, that's going on. The argument was there was no call made, so, which actually is not true. They said it wasn't a basket. There was no call made, they said, which is why they couldn't challenge. And that should not be the case.
So you're saying they should expand the ability to challenge?
Yes.
Do you think there's any possibility that they start firing refs if they're repeatedly?
I don't know about that. It's one call in this instance. I understand that they're I'm just going to go back to MLB really quick. They keep Angel Hernandez and those type of umpires around, and they are beyond horrendous. He called a ball against the Yankees when it was right down the middle. It literally cut the plate in half, and he called it a ball. But they're not going to fire the the refs in this case. But they should definitely imply rules, regarding challenging and expand it.
Yeah, well, I mean, but if there's somebody I don't think he's working for the NBA anymore, but if there's ever a ref again that's as bad as Joey Crawford, I think that's the exception where you have to.
Yeah, that's an exception.
So also, the Warrior woes are continuing. They're still playing like absolute.
Well, yeah, Draymond has not been able to, really do anything of help to that team, and they just don't really have any stars. They do have what could be, I'm not saying a 500 club, but definitely a better club than what they have right now with Draymond, if he, wasn't as bad as he is this year, and D'Angelo. But they couldn't even play, to remotely close to 500. They're just horrendous this year.
Yeah, now I feel like Draymond, I think I said this in the last podcast too. He went from a big mouth to being just completely silent. He has nothing to say anymore.
That's because he has no one around him, and he's not winning.
Exactly, and it just shows the impact that everyone else had, and I think it also shoots down his value. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he's under contract for a couple more years, but when that contract comes up, teams are gonna know that they're gonna remember this season and how he's playing right now, and they're gonna remember that he cannot, be the leader of a team. At least, on the court. Maybe off the court, he can fire a team up and everything. But on the court,
Yeah,
he's
but
not that guy.
on the court, he can't really carry anything. With a mere 9 points, you're not going to do anything for the team, and not many rebounds either. You're not really helping a team or assists for that matter.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about Milwaukee for a second.
I cannot. I don't understand how they're doing so well because they lost Brogdon, who, by the way, is having a tremendous year over in Indiana, and they're right back where they were last year. I'd say they're even better right now.
Yeah, of course, they're playing better. Their record's a lot better. Giannis is better, and
he improves. He just gets better every year. He improves every single year, and it's because he really works at it.
Yeah,
really works at it.
And the funny thing is, people always talk about how basketball is a team game, but the Bucks
That's not true.
But the Bucks are actually really centered around Giannis, and a lot of things.
Yeah, they're the example that that's just flat out not true. And to prove that it's not a team game, LeBron was able to get to the finals, not win it, but get there with absolutely nobody on his team. J.R. Smith, who just dribbled out the clock when his team needed a shot.
Yeah, and he did it twice in his career.
They actually had a bunch of negatives on the team, and he still was able to carry them that far by himself.
Yeah, but
then when he leaves, the team just turns to total dog shit, garbage.
Yeah, but that's the difference between the Bucks and LeBron's team, because the unique thing about the Bucks is that Giannis was out last night. He had an injury, and the rest of the team stepped up and they got another win.
Yeah, well, they actually have a couple of decent players.
Yeah, they got Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, and everything.
Yeah, Brook Lopez is a perfect guy on the Bucks, and I say that because he needs a couple players around him to be very essential for a team, and I say that because when he was on the Nets, they didn't really go far. His stats look good, but they didn't really go far. Now that he's on the Bucks, he's able to contribute, and it's because he's able to be set up by players, especially by Giannis. And, it's very, very easy for him to get, people to forget about him. So, he's wide open at the corner. He's getting these rebounds. He's muscling people out when they need it, when he feels the need to step up. And he's able to do all of that for the Bucks.
Yeah. You brought up when he was on the Nets. And I think that back then he was obviously scoring a lot more. He was the centerpiece of that team, along with
Yes.
Darren Williams and Joe Johnson. But the thing is, back then what he did was not translating as much to wins. But now what he's doing is a lot more impactful because he's playing with a great team.
Like he's getting those big boards, he's getting those big shots. Even if it's not that many, he's getting them. He'll contribute late in the game if needed. And he'll hit those, much-needed shots. And by the way, this year he has his brother on the team. Not that his brother's any good. But, maybe that, gives him, a little more comfort room and, a cushion almost. Like he relaxes a little bit. He's kind of free and loose with his brother on the team.
So would you agree that the Bucks are almost a lock to make the finals this year?
Yes, I would say that.
And
unless Philadelphia is able to, completely gel, and the Heat, maybe get someone at the deadline, I don't think that anyone's passing them. I know I haven't mentioned the Raptors in that, but actually, you know what, I will. If the Raptors get someone as well, then they'll have some contending teams. But as of right now, they're pretty much a lock to make the finals.
Yeah,
but
I
you have to remember that everyone was saying this last year. Bucks are a lock to make the finals, even the playoffs. And they took the 2-0 lead, but then choked it away.
Yeah.
This year, I don't see it happening because Giannis has more experience, and he knows what the playoffs are about. He's not going to get shut down. By the way, they don't have Kawhi anymore, so he really cannot get shut down on offense.
Yeah. And that's
so
the thing.
I see it. As of right now, I see a clear path to the finals for them. I'm not saying that they're going to win it because they're going to be halted by the Lakers. And the Lakers are going to give them a hard time.
Or the Clippers. Or even the Mavericks, maybe. That's a long shot.
Mavericks, I don't see as making the finals. Yes, they're going to be very good. They might even make the Western Conference Finals. I'm not sure because, they have to get past the Lakers and the Clippers first. But the Clippers,
Yeah, they're gonna have to get past one of them.
They just got blown out by the Bucks. They got absolutely blown out. It was never close. The game was never close, and that's where I think that they go wrong. And it's not because Kawhi can't carry the team. It's because they haven't gelled yet, and I don't know if it's going to be enough time by the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a newly formed team, and also just going back to the Raptors for a second, they don't have that top guy anymore. That was Kawhi last year.
Yeah, but Siakam has stepped up.
Yeah, obviously he stepped up, but what I'm saying
he might even win Most Improved Player again. He is tremendous this year. Last year he was good, and compared to his previous season, he was tremendous last year. But he's even better this year, and it's by a big margin. And I could see it happening in the playoffs that he was going to do it. I could see it happening.
Yeah, but my point is they're missing that one more piece to make a deep playoff run.
Yes, exactly.
They have Siakam. So they have Lowry.
If they get something if they get someone, I should say, at the trade deadline, a big piece, then they got a shot.
Yeah.
But until then, they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to win the first round, maybe even the second round, but they're not getting past, like in the East. They're not going to get past the Bucks. Bucks are, as of right now, a lock, as you said, to make the finals.
Yeah, because the thing is, the Bucks have that top guy, and they have a supporting cast. The Heat, they have a top guy in Jimmy Butler. He's not as good as Giannis, though, and their supporting cast is not as good as the Bucks. The Celtics have Kemba, but their supporting cast is not as good.
A slightly worse version of the Bucks. I say that maybe their young talent is better than the Bucks. Actually, is, but their pieces haven't. I mean, maybe they will even develop more during the season. Maybe they even get better. I don't see it happening because they're already all tremendous. But maybe they gel even better.
Yeah. The Nets are another team. I don't see them, challenging the Bucks.
I don't think that they're going to do anything they're going to make the playoffs. That's a given.
I don't know if it's a given.
I'm not even sure if they're going to make. Not even sure if they're going to go through the first round. They might even just be one and done. But next year is their year. That's the year that they're planning for. That's when KD comes back. That's when they're going to be really strong.
Yeah, because also this team hasn't fully gelled yet. So they will get completely knocked around by some of those teams at the top. And the Sixers are, you brought it up earlier, they're the one team I think maybe they have a chance. If they really get things together, they have a chance to beat the Bucks. But every one of their players has to step up. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, they all got to be there. And I actually saw
Joel Embiid is good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. But it looks like he just needs to add in that little bit more effort to become that really star quality, player that he has the potential to be.
Oh, but you know what? I just realized this. There is a big difference between the Sixers last year and this year, and that's Al Horford. Because Al Horford shut Giannis down last year. And now he's on the Sixers. So if the Sixers come across the Bucks at some point in the playoffs, that's going to be a big factor. We don't know how it's going to play out, obviously. Giannis is still going to do his thing. You can't completely stop him. Just like you can't completely stop LeBron, Harden, you name it. But he does play a significant role in slowing Giannis down. And if they slow Giannis down, when the Bucks are playing and Giannis is playing, their game is centered around him. So that's going to, mess up everything for the Bucks.
There's also one more wild card team that I'm going to add in here that, has can contend, and it's the Celtics.
Why would you say the Celtics? Because I don't see that happening.
Very underrated players. They have depth. Maybe not as much as last year, but they certainly have depth.
Okay.
Kemba Walker is absolutely insane this year.
Yes.
Jason Tatum has really stepped up. They've gelled very well. They're the one team that's gelled so far, besides the Bucks. And, they could make a run. I'm not saying that they're going to get past the Bucks, but they could. Especially if they get a piece in at the trade deadline. They absolutely could.
Yeah, I also saw an interesting video, though, earlier on Instagram about, I think it was, it was a clip from ESPN or another similar, like a first take kind of show or something. And somebody, I don't know who it was saying the Sixers should have Ben Simmons play the role of Giannis. Now, it's an interesting point, but I don't think that works.
Why do you say that?
Because, well, I know it works on certain players, namely Giannis, and maybe some other players. Maybe it might work with LeBron and a few others. But I feel like Ben Simmons, because he's not even the best player on his team. Let's just get that out of the way first.
What do you believe is?
Joel Embiid.
Here's the thing, though. Here's why I agree with that. He is the type of player to do that. He's quick. He does not have a big, great shooting game. Giannis has, by the way, gotten a lot better at shooting. But, he's very, very fast, like LeBron and Giannis. He can attack the rim. He's fearless. And he can single-handedly, get you two points, on a drive whenever you want. And that's where I agree with them.
But the problem is he can choke. And if he's not the best player on his team, that really diminishes the effects that other players can have on his team. Because somebody like Joel Embiid, he can really go off. On the Bucks, I mean, maybe Middleton, but Giannis is by far the best player. If Ben Simmons is not even the best player, I don't see how that logically makes sense. I think that'll make him worse.
He's the type of player to do it. He doesn't have to be the best player.
Oh, no, I know he's the type of player to do that, but then Joel Embiid doesn't get the ball as much, and that's going to be a problem.
No. That's not true, because how do you think players on the Bucks get, points? They get the ball kicked out from Giannis. He sets them up. He could be the guy who sets everyone up.
Yeah, but Joel Embiid is not just a spot-up shooter. Brook Lopez almost is.
He's not. But, let's say, there's an open lane for Embiid. You just kick it right to him. And it does not have to be him overpowering the game. He could just, he could overpower some plays. Like LeBron right now does not overpower the game. He gives it to Davis. He gives it to Rondo sometimes, but mainly Davis. He has that other piece.
Yes, but LeBron's not playing the same game as Giannis is. The Lakers are playing more of a team-centered game, whereas the Bucks, their game is clearly centered around Giannis. The Sixers cannot do the same for Ben Simmons because he's not as good as Giannis. He's not the best player on his team. And you kind of need to have Embiid in the post sometimes. You're going to need to give the ball to Tobias Harris. He's got an ISO game.
Yes, but Tobias Harris doesn't need to be set up.
It's not.
If they want him to be good, they have to set him up. And I feel like Ben Simmons is the guy to do that. I'm saying he's going to be like if he does it, he'll be a poor man's Giannis.
What did you say?
If Ben Simmons is able to do, what we're talking about, then he'd be a poor man's Giannis.
Well, yes, but the thing is then, how does, what Joel Embiid can do, so are we just going to take that away from him? Are we just going to have him
No, it'd be like a two-man wrecking machine.
But then
they each set each other up, but Embiid is not Embiid. Simmons is the main guy to carry the ball up the court.
So you're kind of talking about more of a Stockton Malone kind of duo.
By the way, I meant to say Simmons in the last one. I don't remember what I said, but anyway, I'm saying that they should have a game more like the Lakers, but kind of combined between Giannis, the Bucks, and the Lakers.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. They should implement something like the Lakers. Because, they have similar pieces. Ben Simmons is a lot like LeBron. Not exactly, because LeBron's obviously a better shooter. He's a better player, better leader. And, Embiid has a lot of the tools that Anthony Davis has. He has defense. He can shoot the ball. He can work in the post. He's, an all-around big man. Anything you want him to do, he can do for you.
Also, here's the reason why I say that they implement, stuff that the Bucks did. Embiid got shut out by the Raptors. Did not score a single point, went 0 for 11. And that's why I believe Simmons, can make a great contribution, in the sense of Giannis. Like, if that's happening, then you immediately turn to, Giannis mode, if you will.
Yeah, but you didn't forget about when Ben Simmons only had 1 point in that playoff game, right?
I'm not. Which is why they should implement a little bit, what the Lakers do, but they should be able to switch between both.
Yeah, so do you think the Lakers are allowed to make it out of the West?
Oh, 100%.
So you think the Clippers are out of it already?
What?
You think the Clippers are out of it already?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
I just don't see them gelling in time. They each want to carry the team, and it's just not happening. And by each, I mean Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Paul George should just give it to Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, let him carry the team. But it's just not. He's just not letting him.
I mean, but both players have experience playing with other top players. You know, Kawhi was playing with Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Manu on the Spurs.
Yes,
Paul George played with Russell Westbrook.
Here's the thing. Last year, who was the main guy in the Raptors?
Kawhi.
When the Spurs were really contending with him, who was the best player and the main guy?
In 2014, Kawhi, but in 2013, that was Tim Duncan.
Yeah, but I'm saying like 2014 and beyond.
Oh, that was Kawhi.
Yeah. So recently, he's been, I'm the man. Paul George has been playing with Westbrook, and both of them are just like, and Westbrook's like triple-double, so I can pass it to him, he can shoot, I'll get his rebound. So, it's just two different styles of game, and they just don't fit yet.
So you're saying they both play best when they're the go-to guy, because Paul George was better when he was the go-to guy on the Pacers back in 2012 and 13.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. I mean, personally, I feel like the Clippers, they have a shot to get back in it just because their team is so all-around good on defense, and they showed that they could beat the Lakers at the beginning of the season without Paul George. So now you implement Paul George, I think they have a shot. I think these two teams will face off in the Western Conference Finals. So it'll be a battle of LA. I think the Lakers will pull it out, but I do think the Clippers will steal a couple of games that I definitely wouldn't count them out yet. That's just my take.
All right.
So, talking about football now, Lamar Jackson is now a huge favorite. I mean, I thought he was a favorite before. Now his odds are like down to like -900 or something to win MVP. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's also because Quinn went down. Like he has more leverage with injuries around the league.
Yeah, and the Ravens are they're this is like their year.
Yeah.
They have probably the MVP. They probably will make the Super Bowl. They're number one in all those power rankings.
And the reason why I say that is because he's like a running back who can throw. He blows by the defenders when he runs it, and I have not seen that before.
Yeah, I mean he's like Russell Wilson kind of, except he's just playing better this season. He's gonna smash all the QB rushing records. So there's no reason why he doesn't win MVP. I mean, don't get me wrong, Russell Wilson is a great player, and they have very similar play styles. Obviously, they both like to scramble. They both have great arms, but it's just this is his year. He's gonna be breaking bunches of records, and I mean Russell Wilson is having a great season. This is one of the better seasons of his career, but it's kind of.
You also have to remember that he's coming. He's edging out of his prime.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson's just entering.
Yeah, but it's kind of like when Russ and Harden were facing off for MVP. Both had great seasons. It's just, Russ had the triple-double average. Lamar Jackson's going to smash all these rushing records, so he's going to win.
Yeah.
And also the Niners and the Saints had a crazy game this Sunday. I think the Niners won at the last second by a field goal. I didn't catch the whole thing. I caught the ending. But it was regarded by many NFL fans as one of the best games to see. Actually, no, it was regarded as the best game this season.
Wow.
Yeah. Obviously, they're both contenders for, the NFC.
Top spots, yeah.
Yeah. So they could potentially face off again. We might see a rematch. Because I think the Saints are the NFC South.
Yeah, that'll be very hyped up, too.
Yeah, and the Niners are the leaders for... I think they're still the leaders for... I'm not sure if it's them or the Seahawks. Did the Seahawks win?
I think it's them. Yeah, I think it's the Niners.
And the interesting thing is that whoever is not the division leader in the NFC West this year, they're gonna have to be the wild card, even though they might have the second best
kind of
record.
sucks. That's why, like in baseball and football, in those senses, that's like one of the worst positions. I'm going to go back to the Yankees in 2018. Had 100 wins and did not win the division. And the Seahawks and the Niners, whoever comes out on top, yeah, they might be the better team, but the other team is tremendous. They don't deserve to be a wild card team. It's like you're killing them.
Yeah, the Niners are 11-2. They have the best record in the NFC, and the Seahawks are 10-3. And meanwhile, jumping over to the NFC East, the best record is 6-7, a losing record.
Yeah, I know. the Cowboys.
Yeah,
and then the Eagles are in second.
Yeah, the Eagles just played the Giants this week.
And lost.
No, the Eagles won. What are you talking about?
Oh, my bad. I was watching only the beginning then.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. That was my reaction too. I was like, they're done by halftime. I went to bed. Next morning, I wake up. Eagles came back from down 17-3, and that just shows how bad the Giants are. And I mean, I guess it's a good sign for the Eagles, but I don't think they maybe.
No, I saw way too many turnovers from the Eagles.
Maybe they get into the playoffs, by sneaking,
by luck, yeah.
Yeah, maybe like sneaking in by luck, one game ahead of the Cowboys or something, who by the way aren't playing great either. They're playing pretty ass. But at this point, it's just which team is less bad, basically. And also recently, actually just today, there's been a rumor that Tom Brady's considering leaving the Patriots next season. I don't think that's going to happen. What about you?
Nope, that's not happening. Maybe he retires, but I don't see him leaving the Patriots. I mean, he's not the same player as he used to be, so I can see him retiring. But I do not see him leaving. He's just a Patriot. He's not leaving.
Yeah, it's his team.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't even think he's going to retire until he wins one more ring. I think he's going to stick around.
Yeah, and then he'll get that ring and retire like Eli Manning or like Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I think Peyton did retire the year after he won, right?
Yep. I think he was, already done pretty much. But his defense kind of carried him.
Yeah, but Brady has said he wants to play some more. So
and with good reason, he's the face of the franchise, even though he's not the same player.
Yeah. So do you want to end our podcast there?
Also, as of right now, besides that Brady news, I don't see there being much news in football besides what we've discussed so far because mainly you see what teams are going to be where. The Seahawks and the Niners are battling it out, and then the Cowboys and the Eagles are losing it out, and that's about it.
Oh yeah, actually there is one story we didn't touch upon, which is Kaepernick. So, okay. I mean, have you been hearing about the thing between Kaepernick and Stephen A. Smith and all that drama?
No.
All right. Well, basically, anyway, what's been happening is Colin Kaepernick, he had a tryout a few weeks ago, and something. I mean, they had him set up at an NFL facility, and he was supposed to go, and then on just not that long before, he was like, "No, I want to go to a high school," and so they changed the venue, and everybody went there, and I think there's a whole bunch of stuff that went down, but bottom line is Stephen A. Smith said that he just doesn't think Colin Kaepernick wants to play.
He might not be wrong. You're switching up on people that are trying to help you, and he has a pretty good point.
Yeah,
Smith.
Honestly, I was behind. I'm kind of like Stephen A. I was behind him, but now that all this stuff is now that all of this stuff is going down with Cap, he might just be doing this for publicity. We don't know if he actually wants to play. He might just be wanting to start up drama. We don't really know the true intentions of everything. Right now, we're all just playing a guessing game.
Yeah.
Right, so now jumping into pro wrestling. So I want to touch on New Japan Pro Wrestling first because their 2-day event, which is going to be Wrestle Kingdom 14, January 4th and 5th in the Tokyo Dome. Their cards have just been announced. So for night 1, Jushin Thunder Liger. He's gonna have retirement match number one. It's gonna be him, Tiger Mask, Great Sasuke, Tatsumi Fujinami versus Taguchi Tatsuhiro Takewa, and a couple of other guys I haven't heard of. I mean, I don't expect too much out of this match. I expect it just to be, a nice match to send off Jushin Thunder Liger, a legend that's been around for, a few decades now. Also, there's an Lij versus Suzuki Gun match. It's gonna be Evil, Sonato, Bushi, and Shingo versus Desperado, Suzuki, Taichi, and ZSJ. I mean, it has a lot of big names in it, but it's just another New Japan tag match. I mean, I don't really expect much out of it. It's just gonna be a typical undercard match. Same thing with Chaos versus Bullet Club. Um, the IWGP Tag Team Championships are gonna be defended on night one. It's gonna be David Finlay and Juice Robinson, Finn Juice against God, Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. Now, for this one, I don't really. David Finlay and Juice Robinson, let me just say, they've been absolutely on a tear. They had a great match with Evil and Sonata to finish up the World Tag League. And obviously, I don't really need to say much about God. They've been champs for a while. They're one of the best tag teams in the world. I mean, they're okay in the ring, I guess, but the place where they really thrive is on the mic. And I can't think of a lot of people that are better than Tama Tonga on the mic. All those backstage promos he cuts, they're really top notch. But I mean, actually, now that I think about it, Juice Robinson is also up there with him. But for this one, it's hard to predict. I feel like Finn Juice is gonna get the rub just because they're younger and God is already established, and it opens the door for a lot of new feuds because we've kind of been seeing the same guys in the heavyweight tag team picture. It's been God and Evil Sonata and actually I think that's really about it. There's not much else, so I think Finn Juice is gonna be a nice addition to that division. There's Moxley versus Archer, which is interesting because Moxley he just showed up. I think it was like on one of the last days, or maybe the last day of the World Tag League, and he challenges Lance Archer to a Texas Death Match, which is weird because it's not in Texas, but I guess it's because Lance Archer's from Texas or something. It should be like a Tokyo street fight or something, but whatever. It's not a big deal what they call it. I, I, I feel like this is another one where Archer's kind of just getting back into it, so I feel like he's gonna have to retain, even though Moxley never rightfully lost his championship, but Moxley's gonna be occupied with AEW, and I don't know if he's gonna be able to do as much for New Japan as they want him to. So I feel like Lance Archer's gonna retain. I want to see Moxley win. He's one of my favorites, but he really resonates with me. Not exactly the violence part, but a lot of different parts of his character that end up, producing that kind of violence that he does that kind of resonates with me. And that's like the special thing about wrestling is that a lot of these characters, it's what's behind those characters, and sometimes also part of the characters that resonates with the fans, and that helps you build that connection. And that's how a lot of them gain supporters. Moving on though to the junior heavyweight championship match, it's gonna be Hiromu versus Ospreay. Now I feel like this is gonna be a really top notch match because Will Ospreay is really just big match Will, and you got Hiromu who's coming back from an injury. I feel like they both know they got to deliver, and I feel like they both will deliver. They have delivered in their matches before, and I think this time it's going to be no different. I think these are all very tough to predict, and that's what makes New Japan so great. Like a lot of these things, they got twists and turns, and you don't know what's going to happen. So man, I feel like Ospreay's moving up to the heavyweight division. So I honestly feel like Hiromu's gonna take it off of him because who else is there? There's really nobody else. That was basically what Ospreay was saying before Hiromu challenged him to this match, is that there's really nobody left that he hasn't beat in the junior division, which is why it makes sense for Hiromu to take the title off of him, and he can start some new feuds with other guys. Because Ospreay is just gonna be repeating feuds, and it's not gonna make sense unless they have somebody. It's not gonna make sense for him to retain unless they have somebody else in mind that's coming over. But so far I don't think that's in their plans. So I think it's gonna be Hiromu, and they're gonna make him one of their top juniors. I mean, he already was before he was injured, but now he's gonna be back up there. Naito versus Jay White and Kota Ibushi versus Kazuchika Okada. Those are respectively for the IWGP Intercontinental and IWGP Heavyweight Championships. Um, to be honest, I see Naito walking out of this as the double champ, this 2 night event, because I feel like it's been his time for a long time, and he should have had his moment a couple years ago. And I feel like now they're finally going to capitalize it, which I think is a good thing because he's deserved it for a while. And obviously Kota Ibushi has done a lot of work for New Japan over the years, but of course he's signed his contract recently. He was always an independent contractor before, working on a handshake agreement, but now he's signed his contract. But I feel like they're gonna have to give him a little bit more time. And honestly, so obviously that means that Naito has to win, the Intercontinental Championship. And I actually think Okada is gonna retain. I don't think they want to do Naito Ibushi again because they've already done it a few times this year, and there were good matches. But I mean, they did have a dangerous spot, but they usually get away with that in Japan. It's really not a big deal to them as much as it would be in other areas. But I think that it just makes more sense to have the Naito Okada thing, where Naito has been trying to do this for a long time, and you know obviously to get his revenge and everything, and after the whole fiasco that went down with I think it was Nakamura versus Tanahashi getting voted to main event instead of him, and I think it was Okada back then. So he's kind of been wanting to beat Okada on this big stage, and I think this is going to be his moment. And so that one, me on the second night, we're gonna see a rematch between Ibushi and White, because Switchblade Jay White, because they faced off in the G1 Climax 20. I think this one was, yeah, this year was 29, so the G1 29 finals. So we're going to see a rematch from there, but I'll get to that in a moment. Let's go over the matches that are coming before that first. So it's going to be Jushin Thunder Liger's second match, which is going to be him and Naoki Sano. I haven't heard of him before. But it's going to be against Hiromu and Ryu Lee, FKA Dragon Lee, which I think is, I mean, they're two very good opponents. Hiromu's, I mean, according to my projections, he's going to be champion by then. And to be honest, I think Liker's going to have to put him over on this match out. I think he'll win the first match, his first retirement match, but I think he's going to lose that one to put over the two young junior heavyweight top stars on his way out. I expect a little bit more out of this match than the retirement match number one, just because it's a regular tag match, not an 8-man tag. And I think they want to have him go out on a good note. Roppongi 3K is going to be facing El Phantasmo and Taiji Shimori for the Junior Tag Championships. I think that Roppongi 3K, they have been around for a while, but I just don't see him winning this time around. I think El Phantasmo and Taiji Shimori, they're gonna be able to do wonders for Bullet Club and New Japan going forward. So I think they're gonna keep Geto, and New Japan is gonna decide to keep the title on the two junior heavyweights from Bullet Club. Sonata versus Zack Sabre Jr. is gonna be for the British Heavyweight Championship. I think this is tough because I know that because Sonata has been making it one round further every time in the New Japan Cup, so he's obvious. I think he's supposed to win it this year, which means that he gets to challenge. I believe it's the rule. The rules are that you get to challenge for a title of your choice. So I think Sonata is going to be. Oh, he's going to go after Naito. That actually makes for a perfect story. Now it all lines up, actually. So that means that Naito basically is a lock to win, in my eyes. And Sonata's going to win the New Japan Cup and challenge Naito. But, I mean, do they give the win to Sonata to make him look more ready to get that New Japan Cup? Or do they keep it on ZSJ because they want him to focus on New Japan and so they can give him the New Japan Cup? So that's an interesting call. I'm not really sure about how much Sonata has wrestled in Great Britain, because that's obviously going to also playing a factor in this because the British Heavyweight Championship is from Rev Pro. Um, but I feel like because I don't, they had the title switch hands a couple times last year in New Japan. I don't know if they want to do that again because now gonna have to drop it quickly because they're not gonna. I don't think they're just gonna have him win the New Japan Cup and then challenge Naito as the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship. It just doesn't line up to me. So I think ZSJ is retaining there. Um, Juice Robinson is going to challenge the winner of Lance Archer versus John Moxley. I said that he was going to win the heavyweight tag championship with David Finlay, so I think he's going to lose to Lance Archer, who I predicted to win. And I think that Texas Death match is going to be really crazy because they can't, AEW does not want Moxley taking, big losses. He's one of their top stars, probably Jericho's next challenger, especially with the way that promo between Jericho and Moxley went down. It looks, Jericho told him to think about the offer to join the Inner Circle, but I think it's almost a lock that Moxley will turn it down and he will feud with Jericho. And I think that I forgot who it was. One of the executives, either Cody, one of the Young Bucks, or Kenny, they said that Jericho would feud with Moxley. So I think that's the direction they're going in. So they don't want Moxley taking big losses. So I think it's going to be a match where, John Moxley puts up a crazy fight, but he loses on some really nitty bitty thing, and so that he doesn't look bad and he looks strong going into his fight with Jericho, and so that would mean that Lance Archer is going to continue as United States champion, and I don't. I'm not the biggest fan of Lance Archer, but he has gotten better, so maybe I can start getting into him a little bit more. I guess we'll see how he does as time goes on, but I don't feel like he's gonna have that lengthy of a reign. I feel like one of the next few contenders after Juice Robinson will beat him for the championship. I don't think Juice is gonna beat Archer. And then you have Goto versus Kenta for the Never Openweight Championship, which I think is a problem because the Never Openweight Championship has just been kind of there. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. It has zero prestige just because of the fact that it's the same guys, fighting for that stupid championship. It's always Ishii, it's always Goto, it's always Tai Chi, and now it's Kenta. And they're just going to be stuck there forever. They're not going to get, achieve anything higher. Kenta really hasn't been as good, to be honest. I wish he would be a lot better, but right now he's just, I guess, getting kind of a slump. We don't know if this is going to continue, but if it does, it looks like he'll be just stuck in that title picture in that never-ending cycle with Goto and Ishii, which is kind of sad because the Never Openweight Championship, it was a prestigious championship at one point, and I know that word is, prestigious is very overused, but I think it works really well in this case, and that's also why I'm not a fan of them giving the double champion thing to one of either Naito, Ibushi, Okada, or Switchblade, because the Intercontinental Championship, you could argue that it was more prestigious than the Heavyweight Championship at one point, but it's obviously not the case anymore. This is going to make it even worse because now the Heavyweight Championship is going to overshadow the Intercontinental Championship unless now it actually lines up even more. So now that means Sonata that means that Sonata is probably going to beat Naito for one of the championships. I would say probably the Intercontinental Championship, which, depending on how he does with it, could be good or could be a disaster, because it could lower the prestige even more if they're not giving enough attention to him, but also could result in LIJ dominance, as I said, with Hiromu winning the Junior Heavyweight Championship, and it looks like they're not going to have the Junior Tag Championships, but they're going to have a lot of the Singles Championships, and that's going to play a big role in putting them over as a group. But I feel like this should have happened 2 years ago. But I guess it's better late than never. They're not as hot as they were 2 years ago, but I think they could regain some of that steam. And if they do that, they could potentially go back to where they were 2 years ago. And also keep in mind they added Shingo now, so they're gonna actually probably be better. So I said that Switchblade and Ibushi would lose their matches on night one. So I feel like, in my opinion, that this is a tough pick because you could really go either way with Switchblade or Kota Ibushi. I feel like Switchblade Jay White, he doesn't have as expansive of a moveset as he needs to have to compete at that top spot, because the Blade Runner is a great move, don't get me wrong, and he's got a lot of he's got a lot of tools at his age that a lot of people didn't have at his age, which is great for him. But a lot of you see it towards the end of his matches. If you ever watch the ends of his matches, it's always just throwing move after throwing move, and it's not it's not a mix. It's not a mix of strikes and dives and different kinds of stuff that you see from top wrestlers, like Okada, like Ibushi, and many others. So I feel like especially now that Kota Ibushi signed his contract for, I think, yeah, it's for life. So, I don't even know if he's ever gonna wrestle outside that company again. I don't know if he does any kind of Japanese independence or anything. I don't know what he does, but if he's like really locked in, I don't know if he's ever gonna exit the company, which could mean we've seen the last of the Golden Lovers. We've seen the last of his involvement with a lot of different wrestlers that he's been involved with in the past. But it's sad, but it's also a new journey for Ibushi, which it's gonna be exciting to follow him through this journey. And so I think he's gonna get the rub over Switchblade Jay White. In terms of Tanahashi versus Jericho, I think they're gonna. Actually, this is really another really tough one because Jericho is champion, so AEW wants him to win, obviously. But I think the booking is ultimately up to New Japan, and Tanahashi's their guy. But also, they've had Jericho pick up wins. So again, these things are tough to pick. But I feel like, or maybe it plays into an AEW storyline where Moxley, Jericho. I guess Jericho could say that he won and Moxley lost, but then that would just kind of make Tanahashi look bad. Yeah, this match is one where it's gonna be a fun match, but the outcome it's gonna be bad for somebody, and I don't, honestly I don't. There's really no good choice, no bad choice here. I don't know who's gonna get the win here. If I had to guess, I guess maybe they might have Tana going on some more losing. They might have him do some more losing before he really regains his steam and goes back to the top, one last time. Doesn't necessarily mean a title reign, but it just means that he's gonna be involved with the top guys, again. So I feel like Jericho. I'm gonna go with Jericho for this one. And I already said Naito's gonna beat Okada in the main event. I think that's an absolute lock. I think it has to be Naito versus Okada, and Naito wins. I don't think there's any other outcome that's possible. I don't think any other outcome is realistic. I'm not even going to discuss any other outcome because I just don't see it happening, frankly. And it would really surprise me if anybody. It would really surprise me if it was not Naito versus Okada, and it would really absolute scare the crap out of me if Naito did not walk out double champ after the second night of Wrestle Kingdom. But yeah, this is probably one of the most exciting Wrestle Kingdoms in years because it's a 2-night event. There's so many great matches that are going to happen. I'm definitely going to wake up early on those 2 days. Not at 3 to watch, but I'm going to wake up at 5 or 6 or whatever because these 2 nights are going to be insane. January 4th and January 5th. As for the WWE storylines right now, I have to say that ending to Friday Night SmackDown was so bad. I usually give them, leeway when other fans won't, but this is one I cannot give them an excuse. You cannot end a show with pouring dog food on Roman Reigns. That is a terrible way to end the show. I tuned in for the last part of the show because, honestly, after all this time, part of me has given up on WWE. But I was like, I try to give them chances. So I came back. I was like, you know what? Let's see what they do for the end of the show. The previous week's ending was pretty entertaining. So let's see what they do this time around. And all I get to see is Roman Reigns getting dog food poured on him. And I know CM Punk, he was on WWE backstage and he said that he didn't mind it too much, but I hated it. You know, I'm so good. That might be the worst segment I've seen in years, to be honest. I hated that. You know, I know a lot of people don't like what Baron Corbin's doing. I'm actually gonna give him a pass for what he's doing as a character. You know, he's making the fans hate him. He's the classic heel, and he's doing a good job at it. You know, obviously, these days we like to see a more entertaining kind of heel because it's kind of bland now. See, the Corbin kind of heel, but he's making the best out of what he has, and obviously he could be doing better things, but I feel like what he's doing, he's making the most out of it. Like he's doing everything right in his role, but I just don't think the segment was good that he was in, and I think that WWE Vince McMahon creative, I don't know if it's creative's fault. It's probably Vince's fault. I don't know how much creative has to do with this, but that segment is not getting an excuse from me. And moving on over to Raw, it looks like Rusev and Lana. And this angle is finally going to be over, hopefully, because it's kind of stretched out a little too long. They're doing a good job, but we know this is not happening in real life, which ruins the angle. I feel like because we know that Rusev and Lana are still together in real life, so this is just like a total load of baloney to all the fans, and fans recognize that. And I was willing to give this storyline a chance at the beginning, but I feel like it took them way too long to get to the point where they are now. It should have gotten there faster, and but I feel like the all the wrestlers that are part of this, Rusev, Lashley, and Lana, they're doing a good job of, just like Corbin, they're doing well with what they have, and you have to give them credit for that. Lana is just so damn annoying that you hate it makes you hate the segment more too, but it makes you hate her. It makes you want to see Rusev kick some ass, which is the benefit of having excuse me. It emphasizes the benefit of having Lana to do this and be annoying and everything, and also Seth Rollins joins forces with AOP. I think it makes him a likable heel too because the way he talked about it, it was true what he said, and he has a reason to be angry, and that's the kind of heel that I feel like fans can get behind. The ones that have a good reason to be a bad guy, and you almost kind of feel a little bad for them. Because it's really, this whole thing with booing him started at Hell in a Cell when, he there was a ref stoppage in quotes, and he started to defend it on Twitter. So you see his side, but it's also kind of his fault. So I feel like, they really could have turned him back face, after. Actually, no, I feel like you could have, just because of the way he defended it on Twitter. I feel like he could not be a face after that. If he had not defended on Twitter, I felt like after that promo, it was the previous Raw, it was a good motivational promo to start Raw, and I feel like, maybe they could turn him back face, but, you can't do that after I feel like he defended the ref stoppage, and he was trying to define it, and I understand he wants to be the, the flag carrier for WWE, but that was just dumb, I feel like, and big mistake, and I feel like he had to be a heel after that, and but yeah, as I said, if he had not done that, he cut that promo, or even the promo he cut this week, either would have been fine. They could have turned him back face, but I feel like when he made that tweet, there was no going back. He had to turn heel, and I feel like if they wanted to become a likable heel, this is a good way to do it. They wanted to become a hated heel, I don't know, but I think things are gonna work out here. It's gonna be a nice feud between him and Owens, but with reverse roles from 2016 when KO was the heel and Seth Rollins was the face. Now it's the opposite, and I think that's an interesting new dynamic. I've always also thought that Seth was better as a face. I made this known, maybe not on my podcast, but I think that Seth was always better as a heel. He did a great job in his time with the Authority, and I feel like he all he really says as a face is, "Oh, I want to be a fighting champion. Oh, I never back down from a challenge or whatever." And yeah, I mean, at the beginning it's okay, but after a while just like Corbin's heel thing, it gets bland, and he was doing well with what he had, but at a certain point it just got bland, and AJ Styles tried to do the same thing when he was a face, and I feel like WWE assigning this kind of character to faces that they don't have another idea for, it's just stupid because fans see right through it, and it's a boring character. I'm surprised that fans actually continued to cheer AJ when he was a face because I felt like it was just stupid at a certain point. He had basically no character. Neither did Seth. He was just a fighting champion. That's all he did. They did the same thing with Kofi. Kofi had the New Day part still in him. The pancake throwing and everything. So okay, we'll give him a little bit of a pass. It wasn't so bad, but I feel like Seth and AJ, their gimmicks were just bland as faces. They gotta let Seth and AJ lose. Let them come up with an interesting character, or creative and Vince have to come up with something good for them, and they just were not able to do that. So I'm actually glad that they're both heels now, and AJ teaming up with Gallows and Anderson, it gives them something to do. So that's nice. You get everybody involved. As for the Wednesday Night Wars yesterday, I thought that because Villain Enterprises, their contracts are going to be up soon. So I feel like, Marty Skrull, he's obviously going to AEW, and I think the rest of Villain Enterprises is too. Brody King, PCO, Flip Gordon, and everything. I think that they're going to do great in AEW. I don't know if they're all going. Obviously, we don't know. I think they're also talking to WWE, but I think there's a pretty good chance they're going to AEW. Not a lock, but very, very, actually pretty much a lock. They're pretty much a lock to go to AEW, and I think it's gonna play either into the Cody storyline, or it's gonna play into the Kenny storyline, or the Hangman, or maybe the Young Buck. It's gonna play into somebody else in the Elite storyline right now, and it's all gonna come full circle, I think, and they have something going right now. We don't know exactly what it is, but obviously there's something being planned. There's some tension in the Elite with what Hangman and Kenny have been saying recently, especially on BTE. So I guess we'll have to see where this goes. MJF cut a great promo last night. That was really awesome. I mentioned earlier Mox and Jericho, Bucks versus LAX. That was or Proud and Powerful as they are. That was a very good match. NXT showed up as well. They had Leo Rush versus Angel Garza and their triple threat match. Balor versus Lee versus Ciampa. That was very good to end the show. They both actually got 700, I think 708 or 780,000, which actually they're tied for the ratings this week. And I think that's great because it helps elevate both shows and makes fans want to watch. And neither one's going out of business, and they're both going to thrive, and they're both going to push each other to do better. And I think that's great. And yeah,